Now, today we're going to talk about Outlook. We're going to cover a couple of different things. We're going to cover the web access version. We're going to cover the desktop app version. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about email etiquette and invite etiquette and some of those things. This presentation was developed with the help of Ann Demerseman. So I hope that you guys enjoy it. So first things first, let me hide all the student names. How often do you use Outlook? So when I click this start activity, you'll be able to click A, B, C, or D, or A, B, or C. And so that's either every day, once a week, or once a month. So give about 1 minute for y'all to be able to do that. Somebody said I should have put once an hour on there as well. Looks like everybody's being able to access this. We've got about 30 more seconds. So how often do you use Outlook? It looks like we often, we're using it almost every day, most of us. 10 more seconds. Also, if you get kicked out of Nearpod for some reason, the code is always at the top right here. So if you are in Zoom, if you can make sure that you mute yourself. Okay. Second, how comfortable are you with Outlook? Okay, how comfortable are you with Outlook? Are you very comfortable, somewhat uncomfortable, or very uncomfortable? This is not used to judge you. This is just so that I can get a handle on what everybody's comfort level is. So based on these answers, it looks like everyone has some level of comfort with Outlook. Okay. And do you use the web browser version or the desktop application more often? So do you use the web browser version, the one that shows up in your Edge or Google Chrome, or do you use this little button one down here, which is the desktop application? Which one do you use more often? Interesting. Lots of people use the desktop application. Nate and I were talking about this when I was designing this, and he was a desktop application user. And then I was showing him some of the usability functions of the web browser. So I'm not here to change your mind. I'm just here to help you effectively use it to the best of your ability. All right. So Outlook does have two ways to access it. It has the web access and then the app access. The web access allows you to access your email anywhere. So your phone, any computer, those kinds of things. The desktop does allow you to access things offline, but you have to have it dedicated to a certain type of device. So some of the client features for Outlook, complete offline access for your desktop version. You can delay or schedule emails. You can paste objects into your messages. It has some advanced search features and then advanced displays features, which is my favorite part because then I can customize it to make it look however I want. So if you don't know how to access it, Of course, you go to csc.edu and you click on Eagle Mail. So does everybody have theirs pulled up? Through the web, just so that we can do both, so that you can get a sense of what I'm talking about when I talk about the web version and the desktop version. So when you click on that Eagle Mail, it'll take you to a sign-on page, and then it'll take you to the single sign-on, which is where you put your credentials in. And you should be able to access. And it should look something like this. So when you're navigating your mailbox on here, it looks a little different than the desktop app. There are some features that we'll talk about, but this right here is your inbox. And when you click on this message, you'll be able to read it in the reading pane. And if you double click it, it will open into a new window. Now, something that's not on this particular view of the mailbox that you should know about is that you can have a focused and an other mailbox. So the focused mailbox is going to be things that come from CSC, from people at csc.edu. And the other is going to be things that like other people send you. Like I get a lot of Quality Matters stuff and it goes into that box. So it helps me sort out things that maybe aren't as important or are more important because they're coming from people inside CSC. When you navigate your mailbox, there's a search bar, the new message. This is your folder list. These right here are your navigation buttons. You can customize these depending on which ones you use the most. So this one is mail, and then calendar, people, attachments, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, those kinds of things. If you wanted to create a subfolder inside of your inbox, you would right click on the inbox and type in the name of the new folder. So if everybody could, in your web app, go ahead, you can delete the subfolder later, but go ahead and right click and then hit create new subfolder. This is a great way to organize your mailbox. I have them for everyone in my building has their own mailbox, and then I have one for HR and I have one for IT. Yes.
I can do that in the app, but not in the web.
You should be able to do it in the web browser. Hold on just a second. Let me see what I It's a great way to be able to organize your folder, to organize your emails so that your inbox doesn't get overloaded. And if you're just starting with folders and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming, I'll show you some ways that you can get started. I had neglected my inbox for a while and there was like, I don't know, 400 emails in there. And so you can actually filter them by by sender. And so then you just go and click all of the ones that are from the same sender and you can move them all at the same time to those subfolders. Questions so far? Nate, you got anything in the chat? Oh, yes. So when you're navigating your mailbox, there's two places that you can reply. You can either do it through the little reply button, or there is this arrow right here. This is reply all. This is forward, and this is just to tell somebody that you got their message. It doesn't necessarily, like somebody sends you a message that says, hey, thanks for providing that cupcake today. If you don't want to send a you're welcome one, you can just click that button right there. It tells them that you read it without having to do a read receipt, and just says, hey, I got your message. Thanks for that. Reply all. Be careful when using that, especially to all campus emails, unless everybody on the entire campus needs to know your reply to that email. Try to just use reply. If you're telling someone in that thread, thank you, then just reply to them. You might need to start a separate chain, but reply all can be a little bit tricky. So one of the etiquette things is to not reply all unless everybody in that thread needs to hear what you're saying. When you are in the web app, you can also hover over some of these things right here to either mark it as read, flag it so that it will, it's important, or pin it so you can pin it to the top so that you don't forget about whatever that email's about. And then the little trash can, of course, is delete. Questions about any of those things? Pretty simple stuff. There are some advanced features. When you right click on a message in your inbox, you can delete, archive. Archiving is putting it into a separate folder. It doesn't delete it, but it's no longer in your inbox and it's no longer in any of your folders. The reason that you would want to do that as opposed to delete it, because your emails and your deleted items get cycled out every 30 days. So if you didn't want to, if you maybe might need it sometime in the future, you can always search your archived emails. You can't always search your deleted emails. Move is to be able to move it to a different folder, copy, categorize. So if you have a lot of tasks that are associated with emails, you can click categorize and it will allow you to color code them so that you know what that email is about. Mark as read, flag, pin, we talked about those. You can snooze an email so that it will pop back up into the top of your inbox and also send you a notification. If you don't have the bandwidth to process it right that second, but you know you're going to need to process it within the next hour, you can set it to snooze. Security options, view, and advanced actions we'll talk about in a later slide. This is the desktop app. It looks fairly similar. So this is going to be where your emails show up. And then when you click on them, they'll show up in the preview pane. And this is your folder list. And at the bottom, this is your navigation pane. So where it was on the side on your web application, on your desktop application, it's at the bottom, but it still has some of the same navigation panes. And some of the things that we do where you right click on things in the web app are actually part of a toolbar or a menu bar in the desktop application. Any questions so far? Okay. So being part of the college, there's lots of us who deal with PII, which is personally identifiable information, whether that be student names and NUIDs, those kinds of things. We need to send those in protected emails. The IT recommended way to do that is to type secured with a D in the subject line. And then it will send it secured so that they can't forward it to anybody, can't copy it, those kinds of things. If you are, this will work whether you're sending it on campus or off campus. If you're sending it on campus and you don't want to type secured, you can hit the encrypt button and it will send it secured as well. Any questions about that?
Sorry, I just want to comment on that.
Yes,
The encrypt button only
Yes.
works if they have newer versions of Outlook. Anyone that has older versions of Outlook, they will just get a strange message saying that they've been sent an encrypted message, but they can't do anything with it.
okay. Thanks, Keith. That is correct. If you're going to send a protected email inside of the desktop app, again, typing secured in the subject line is the best way. You can click on home and you can click on set permissions and you can encrypt it that way. But again, as Keith said, if somebody has a later version, then it cannot send correctly. So putting secured in the email line is probably your best bet. So when you're archiving your messages, this is back in the web application, not the desktop application. There's an archive button at the top. Again, that moves the message from the inbox without deleting it, so that it doesn't get sent away after a certain amount of time. There's 3 other buttons at the top as well to help you organize your emails. There's junk. So if you get something in your focused inbox that you know is junk, you can click on the little circle next to it and click junk, and it will send those to the spam folder from then on. Sweep allows you to delete or archive batches of emails. So again, like if you have that 400 email deep and you're wanting to clean some stuff up, you can do that with the sweep, but if you're just wanting to archive them and not put them in a certain folder. And then move to lets you move them to your folders. So it's pretty easy. I do that fairly regularly, where you just click the little button to the side here. So sorry. And if I have multiple messages, I can click more than one, and then you just click move to, and it'll have the most recent folders in the drop down. Let me see if I can. Sorry about that, peeps. So it has my most recent folders right here, but you can always type in to search for a folder. You can also create new folders when if like you get an email from somebody that you've never gotten from before, but you know that you want to make them a folder, you can create a new folder in there as well. Rules are great, but they're tricky. You want to make sure that if you're going to create a rule, that you're moving it to a certain folder every time somebody sends you something, then you're checking that folder every single day. Because if you don't, then you're going to miss out on those messages because it doesn't send you the same kind of notification. So to set a rule, you would right click on the email message and then go down to advanced actions and create rule. When you do that, something like this pops up into the web application. And so you would name your rule, you would add a condition. So in this one, everyone that comes from myself. And then you can add other conditions. So like if I wanted everyone that came from myself that had the subject Tuesday teaching tip to go into my Tuesday teaching tip folder automatically, then I could add another condition that says subject line Tuesday teaching tip. And as long as every time I typed the same thing, and then add an action. So you can select an action like move to this folder, then it will go directly to that folder every single time. Be careful about that. Like I said, if you're getting emails from like a salesperson and you send those to automatically delete. If somebody is sending you something that you need from that company and you've set up that rule, it can also go to your deleted file. So just making sure that you are either checking those other folders or that you know that you're never going to get an email from somebody with that you're going to need. The same thing applies in the desktop app. So you would right click, you click on rules, and then you create a rule the exact same way. Questions about rules? Sweet. In the web application, searching is a lot of fun, especially if you're looking for a particular email that you can't remember which folder you put it in or who sent it. You can do just a general search in all of your boxes, all of your folders by just clicking on the magnifying glass that's up here. But if you want to narrow your search, because I know that Bruce sent me an email about my UDL representation workshop on Friday. I can search and I can put from Bruce, I can put keyword UDL, and then I can put a select date, and it will bring me up all of those emails that match that. So the more information you have, obviously, the less results you'll get in the inbox section right here in this pane. But I use it if I can't remember. Oh, I know somebody sent me an email about pies. Who sent me that email? Oh, it was Lana Downs, after I type in pie into the search bar there. Signatures are also of great importance when you are using Outlook. So the easiest way to set up a signature in the web application is to click on the little gear, and then you go down to view all Outlook settings. When you do that, it will bring this box up, and you will click on mail and then compose and reply. And then this is your Outlook web signature. So important things to put in your signature is your name, your pronouns, if you choose to, whatever your designated title by the college is, what department you work for, and then also whatever your contact information is, like your phone number. You also want to make sure that you're not using lots of different colors or different types of fonts because of ADA compatibility. So there's lots of people who have difficulty, like my husband is colorblind. So if you used a really light color on a light background, he would have trouble reading that. Likewise, if you use red on black, he would have a hard time, like he would just not think that there was a signature there. Also, using weird fonts, people with dyslexia can't read those as well. So using a sans serif font like Calibri or Arial, where they don't have like the little lines on the bottom. The one that I've used here in the slide is a sans serif because it doesn't have like the ends don't have the little lines under there. That's what sans serif means. So I'm not saying that you can't make your signature your own, but keeping those things in mind, because we deal with a lot of people who either A, we don't know about their disability, or B, they've never disclosed their disability or never been diagnosed with the disability, but they still have it. Making sure that we can do everything possible to grant them accessibility to whatever we're sending them is the best way to ensure access for everyone. Setting up automatic replies. In the same part where you set up your signature, right here where it says automatic reply, you would click on that, and then you turn on your automatic replies. I'm actually going to have to do this starting tomorrow. And you can either remember to turn it off when you get back, or you can set it for specific days and times. And you just put a little message in there that says something like, I'll be unavailable from this date to this date. If you need immediate assistance, contact this person, or I'll reply when I get back. Mine will say, if you need immediate assistance, you got to contact Nate. So just make sure that we're turning those on, because a lot of time, if somebody is sending you an email and they're not getting a response back because you haven't set up your automatic reply, then they're going to think that you're ghosting them. And that can be frustrating, and it's not a good customer service type of thing. Questions about automatic replies? So to set up automatic replies in the desktop app, underneath File, you would click on Automatic Replies, and it's the same process. So you just click Automatic Replies, and then you put in your little note. Same thing. Okay. Display settings. This is the fun part, and we're all going to do this one. So there are lots of modes, themes, and layouts that you can choose to customize your experience. I like to use dark mode. The light on dark doesn't fatigue my eyes as quickly as dark on light. So if you click on your little gear and let's see here, you can choose a different theme. We have an organizational theme, which would be like our Shadron State theme. There's like unicorns, all kinds of stuff. You can change it to be light mode or dark mode. You can take away your focused inbox. If you just want everything to come into one, you can change it where that focused inbox is off. But if you don't, you can click it like that. You can toggle whether or not you want desktop notifications, what display density you want, whether you want your newest conversation on the top or the bottom, and where you want your reading pane. So if you read better with it on the bottom, you can do that, or on the right, you can hide your reading pane. All kinds of ways to customize this for yourself. So go ahead and pick a theme and toggle those switches, because you can always toggle it back off. Another way to customize your display is to add a professional picture. To add it to your profile, if you look up here at the top, if you haven't set it yet, this would be just like your initials right there. And you click on this, and then there's add or change your picture. And you would click on that, and you would select your photo. Make sure to use either your CSC headshot or some other professional photo, professional looking photo. Doesn't have to be done by a professional. I'm lucky enough to have a professional photographer in my house, so I have lots to choose from. But make sure that it's a professional photo. One of the reasons that we do that is it allows those who are both inside of our organization and outside to put a face to a name, because it pops up when you send an email. And so it allows that personal connection. Plus, when I see you in the lunchroom, then I know who to say hi to. If you're working in the desktop app, you would go to File, and then where your account settings are, you just click Change, and you can put your picture in right there. It'll say Upload Photo. You just upload it. Any questions about adding your picture? So on this one, on contacts, I started with the desktop app first because it defaults in the web app to the correct address book, but you want to make sure that if you're using address book in the desktop app, that it is offline global address list, so that it will show the people who are in Shadron State College, like our CSC email book. If you're looking for contacts in your web application, and you're not looking like to send an email to somebody in a new message, like you want to go and look at that person, like find out where their office is, and you don't want to use the directory, you click on these 6 little dots or 9 little dots. We call them the waffle. And it brings up all of the apps, and you click on people. And when you do that, it brings up contacts. You can add new contacts, you can search contacts, you can look at your contact lists. If you wanted to add a new contact that wasn't part of CSC, so that you would have their information built into your contacts, you would simply click new contact, and it will bring up this add a contact button, and you will put their first name and their last name, and you would click add more, and you can put their email address, their phone number. If they're from a particular company, you can put their business name in there, all of those kinds of things. The other great thing that you can do is to create contacts in the desktop application. You just simply click new contact, do the same thing where you add their information. Calendars. Calendars are a great way to make sure that when we're scheduling meetings, or you're going to be out of office and somebody wants to schedule a meeting with you, if these are up to date, then it makes scheduling those meetings a whole lot easier. So to access it in the web application, you can either click it on the side, or you can click the waffle and click calendar. And when it comes up, it looks something like this. This is a blank one. You can search your calendar. You can change how you're viewing it. So right now it's in a month view, but you can also do a day or a week view, or even an agenda view. It shows you over here, you can toggle which calendars you want turned on. So if you want to know what United States holidays are when, you can toggle on that one. If somebody shares their calendar with you, you can toggle it on so that you can see when they're busy and when you're busy at the same time. I have the Oklahoma State Cowboys football calendar that I have toggled on mine so that I know when my alma mater plays. So that's how you can ensure that you can see what's happening on your calendar. You can also share your calendar with other people. This is a great way, especially within buildings, to make sure that everybody knows where everybody's gonna be. And you can set the permissions so that they can see it'll just say busy or free. It can say what you're doing along with who's invited, or it can be a variation of those things. So what you do is in the top right, you would click share, and then you would enter that person's email address or their contact name. And then you would change when they could see. So they can view it when you're busy. They can view all details. So you can select your permission, and then you hit save. Nate and I have ours shared with each other, and then we have it shared with most of the people in our building, just so that we can make sure. We do a lot of test proctoring, so I can know whether I need to take that person, or if Nate can take that person, or if Dina can take that person. Now Nate and I are in the same office, so we can just yell across, but Dina's upstairs, so we would have to be real loud, and the library is supposed to be a little bit quiet, so we try not to yell too much. To create an event, you simply click on new event and add the title. When you type in an attendee, their availability will show up over here as well, even if they don't have their calendar shared with you. And so you can take whenever your appointment is and drag it up and down the side. And when it turns green, that means that you're both available at that time. You can change the date and the time. Know that it always defaults to a Teams meeting. So if you don't want it to be a Teams meeting or there to be any confusion, make sure that you toggle off the Teams meeting. You can type in a room or location. So like, for example, down in the basement of the library, we have the LLC Professional Development Center, which is room 111. If you wanted to use that room, you can type in LLC Professional and it will pop up. And that will send an email to Sean so that she can make sure that the room is available at that time for you. Make sure that if you are going to put a room or location, that's like something that, like this room right here, I contacted conferencing before I put this room on here so that they can make sure that the room was available. You can also have it remind you. I always do it 15 minutes before because I can probably hoof it anywhere on campus within 15 minutes. So if I forget about something that I'm doing, it sends me a little reminder and I can probably book it there in 15 minutes. I might be out of breath, but I could probably book it there. When you are creating an event in the desktop app, you would click on new appointment or new meeting, and then it will show up like this. So you can put all of your attendees over here, and in this area, it will show you suggested times that everybody is available. So if it's blue, that means that that person is busy. If it's blue and white, that means that they are tentative. Purple is out of office. And so you can put that in there, and they also have suggested times here on the side. You can also choose a room from here as well. If you want to cancel the invitation, you can do that as well. One of the nice things about when you send out an invite, you can email specific attendees once they RSVP, so that you're not sending it to the whole list again. Another super great thing, if you like to keep your email open, but you also want to see what you're doing that day as well, is the calendar to-do list. You can toggle that on the side so that you can see what things, it usually has like the first 8 things. So that could be like 3 days worth of stuff or 1 day worth of stuff, depending on how busy you are that day. But toggling that on, it's a calendar with a check mark, allows you to see on the side what events you have coming up along with your email at the same time. That is not just a web application function. You can also do that in the desktop application. And so if you go to view at the top and you click on the to-do bar, it has it on the side there as well. Questions about calendars, invite etiquette, anything like that? Right on, right on. Now we're gonna talk about email etiquette in general. When we are reading or an email, we should always assume best intent. So it is hard to convey emotion in an email unless you are using a lot of flowery language. I don't do that. So sometimes my emails can come off as very blunt. And so sometimes people read them as I'm angry at them, and that is not my intention. So if we give people the benefit of the doubt and read it with best intentions in mind, then we're less likely to have a misunderstanding. So with that in mind, assuming best intent and thinking about things from a different knowledge perspective, this is called Draw It. So in your Nearpod, you can type or write next to these acronyms. Tell me what you think these acronyms mean. Ooh, we got a star pupil today. Somebody got all 6. So, CSC is Chadron State College. LLC is the Library Learning Commons where I work. ESL is English as a Second Language. Higher Learning Commission is HLC. Employee Self-Service is ESS. And Learning Management System is an LMS. Now, I had you guys do this particular activity because I wanted to talk about knowledge recognition and false consensus bias. So we know what those acronyms are, but outside of higher education, or even outside of Chadron State College, there are people who don't know what those acronyms mean. So we need to give people as much information as possible to help them make our communications as clear as possible. False consensus bias causes people to see their own behavioral choices and judgments as the norm. And so that's what we call normative thinking. And when you only view things through one lens, it can be problematic, especially when you're trying to communicate to a vastly diverse campus or an audience who is vastly diverse. So we're going to play a false consensus bias game. So many of us know the things that I'm about to ask. So think about it from a different perspective, okay? So how many students know what FAFSA is and what it does? What percentage? So just type in whatever percentage you think. You get 1 minute. How many students and what percentage of students know what FAFSA is and what it does? Oh, probably not. Might just have to refresh it. Oh, okay. Thank you. You're welcome. I did nothing to help that situation. I just happened to walk over there. Okay. Hopefully they all know what it is after they've been here a semester or two. Incoming freshmen, 30%. So actually, only 15% of high school students who are coming into college, so that would be our incoming freshmen, know what FAFSA is and what it does. So we all know, like that would be we get vastly different answers on here. Some as high as 70%. 100% know what it is and 50% know what it does. We all know that, but they don't necessarily know that. So let's do another one. What percentage of CSC students are traditional students? Traditional students are 18 to 21, 18 to 22. Traditional students. Got about 30 seconds. So just looking at this range of answers, we can't even assume that people inside of our own college have the same reference for answers that we do. So providing enough information is imperative. And it's actually close to 75%. So now that number was a lot higher longer ago, but we've brought in a lot more non-traditional students. And so it's closer to 75. Last question. What percentage of Americans can find Ukraine on a map? Now you would think this would be fairly high because it's been in the news a lot. Ooh, we have very little faith in Americans. The Birds by Grand Island. Nice. We got about 20 seconds left. So whoever said 33%, you were only off by 1%. Only 34% of Americans can identify Ukraine on a map. So again, this was just kind of an exercise to help you see that when we have that false consensus bias, we can leave out information that we think is critical or that we don't think is critical that we think everybody should have. Now, when we talk about email etiquette, there's a couple of things that are really important. Avoid using colored fonts because of the ADA requirements that we talked about in the signature. Avoid using all caps. Does anybody know why? It is yelling. Colette says it's yelling at you. That's correct. So all caps means that you're yelling. The secure feature, be very careful when you use the secure feature. If you're sending something that somebody's going to need to make an action on, if you use that secure feature, it doesn't allow them to do that. When you are composing an email, read it back aloud. when you're reading it in your head, you're reading what you intended to write. And when you speak it out loud, you're reading what's actually there. And so sometimes you can catch things that you didn't see before. And oh, I'm sure, yeah, because they don't read their papers out when they're making their paper, and so and they probably don't have anybody look over them either. So if you're in doubt about your tone, you can wait a day and then reread it. Or if you don't have that kind of time, have a trusted colleague read it. Nate and I are forever yelling across the room at each other, hey, I'm going to read this email to you. Hey, I'm going to read this email to you. So we can make sure that what we're trying to convey, we're even trying to erase that false consensus bias, because things that I know may not be what is commonly known. So, high importance. The only time high importance status should be used, and the reason this is an etiquette, is because the only time it should be used is if it requires immediate attention and there will be consequences if something is not done. So if it doesn't have both of those, I wouldn't use high importance. Now, to set that importance, you just click the 3 ellipses next to discard and set importance, and then you can do it not high, normal, or low. So again, if you're going to set it for high importance, make sure that it requires immediate attention and there will be negative consequences if they don't receive it. Okay, the last 2 slides are super fun. We're going to look at two emails. The first one is the bad email. And so what I want you to do when I hit start activity is to go through and annotate and find all of the things wrong with it that you can, okay? So you get 3 minutes for this. I love it. Everyone's like, oh my God, what is this? Who is writing this email? So there is a lot to unpack with this particular email. Let me pull up this one right here. So there's a lot of slang and misspelling in this email. A lot of using like inappropriate grammar. Now, some of you may have circled the emoji, but depending on who you're writing an email to and what type of email it is, emojis can be appropriate. Attaching a personal picture unless it's been asked for, maybe not so great. And using like 3 exclamation points and the all caps. So there's a lot to unpack there, right? when we're talking to students, making them aware of what constitutes a good email, and also encouraging them to use their CSC email. I used to tell my students all the time, if you want me to respond to your email, send it through your official email, because if I get an email from hotlipshoulihan@gmail.com, I am not responding to that. So just encouraging our students, because we all interact with students on some basis. So if you happen to think of that when you're interacting with them, always a good thing to shout out to them. It's easy to pick apart a bad email, but can you tell me what is good about this email? So again, I'm going to give you some time to look through this email and find what's good with it. Yeah. Why is this a well-written email? Somebody just circled the whole thing. So there's a lot to like about this email, for sure. Having a subject that tells you what that email is going to be about is great. Somebody had put brackets around this part right here. If we are not reading with best intentions, that can seem really passive aggressive. But this is explaining why they're responding to you. And so if you're assuming best intentions, then this doesn't have any connotation to it. It's just saying, this is why I'm responding to you. Making sure that they use proper capitalization and commas. It's short, it's to the point. They're using a font that is sans serif. They are using an appropriate salutation at the end, those kinds of things. So making sure that we give enough information without giving too much information, I think is really well defined in this email. So with that said, what questions do you have about etiquette, about functionality, anything? You can throw them in the chat. You can ask out loud. I have no preference. Well, seeing no questions, I am going to send out a survey to you guys that attended. So we can, get any other topics that you guys want to learn about, or how we could expand on this, or what you liked or didn't like. But I appreciate everybody showing up.